It's Monday, and you know what that means. The Jersey First Television Network proudly brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk. And certainly, I am the generational talent in Garden State Media and your leader for trustworthy opinion journalism. That's right, folks. It's me, Fernando Uribe. Happy Monday to you all. Happy WrestleMania week to all you fans. As we know, the Super Bowl of pro wrestling is this weekend, emanating from Las Vegas. And for all of us that have enjoyed it since childhood, it's a big week for all of us fans in the professional wrestling community. But again, folks, I want to thank you all for tuning in here from wherever and however you may be doing so right now, of course, on all your social media platforms on this, the 13th of April in 2026. And folks, if you haven't done it already, it just takes a few seconds. Make sure you like us on Facebook. Make sure you like Jersey First, as well as Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. Also, make sure you follow us on Instagram and X, and also subscribe to Jersey First on YouTube. Great programming is available there. Make sure you subscribe and, of course, like and comment. It really helps the algorithm and really helps all of our shows grow, folks, every single week here on the Jersey First Television Network. And whether you get your podcast on Spotify or SoundCloud, folks, it just takes a moment to click on it, to download it, and take Jersey First with you anywhere at any time. Of course, the weather's getting a lot nicer. You're walking your dog. You're doing grocery shopping. Maybe you're shopping for Mother's Day, whatever. Maybe you're shopping for leftover Easter candy, folks, whatever you're doing. I'm pretty sure you have your smartphone or your tablet with you. Take Jersey First with you anywhere at any time. And folks, again, I can't say it enough. Here, always leading the way, educating, advocating for the great residents here in New Jersey. It's always Jersey First TV. And of course, Real Talk airs every Monday night live. Check your local listings, of course. And folks, we have brand new episodes of Bridging the Gap returning, obviously, to Jersey First. Check them out, of course, on all of our social media platforms. And we really appreciate your support for fearless independent media here with Jersey First TV. Folks, you want to stick around for final thoughts? I have a lot to say about, quite frankly, the usual suspects in New Jersey, especially, as we all know, some of these crazy activists, especially here in Hoboken nearby. We saw no more than 100 radicals marching in Hoboken. And folks, I'll tell you why, as always, they're pretty misguided with a lot of their rhetoric and, quite frankly, how it's so dangerous in today's political climate. And folks, more on that later. Obviously, we all know the harm that the Democratic Socialists of America, as well as other left-wing organizations, inflict on New Jersey. I'll tell you more about why they're not to be trusted later on during Final Thoughts. And of course, folks, I'll have a special comment with a brand new venue. And of course, a shout out to some very important people. Now, folks, normally I don't really give a backstory to my guests on this program. As you know, I have elected officials on from both sides of the aisle, candidates, activists, advocates, journalists, you name it, folks. But I never really give a backstory about why the guest is so significant until this week. And then, again, if you indulge me here, I'll be as brief as possible. But folks, Real Talk, hopefully, and God willing, will celebrate 6 years on the air coming up on June the 1st. And when I first started Real Talk during 2020, again, I started with Eyes on NJ News. And a special thank you to, again, Jordan Komowitz and John Edmonds at the time with Eyes on NJ News, as we started talking about this during January of 2020, never knowing what would come the next few months. And certainly, folks, in the middle of a pandemic, as we were home, shut down here by the emperor at the time, obviously, I felt, hey, why not premiere Real Talk during that summer? And on that Monday night in June 1st in 2020, I didn't know what to think. And I decided to launch Real Talk. And for the next year with Eyes on NJ News, it did pretty well until the summer of 2021. And without a doubt, folks, listen, creative differences surface. Sometimes egos get in the way. And working with Eyes on NJ News just wasn't possible anymore. Again, no hard feelings. We talked it out like men, and we felt it was better to go in our own directions. Rest of the year, obviously, I was still partnering with Insider NJ, featuring this podcast on that platform. But right around Christmas time of 2021, I felt that Real Talk was at a crossroads. And certainly I felt I was at a crossroads with Insider NJ. And I felt it was just not a news organization that A, I was proud to work with anymore, or B, just wasn't willing to work with me. And during that holiday season, listen, sometimes Santa brings you presents when you least expect it. And I got a phone call from a very respected woman in our business and our political community. And we talked over the Christmas holiday, and we talked well into the new year in 2022. And subsequently, folks, after much discussion and some Zoom meetings, it was best to join Jersey First. And I can tell you, folks, it's the best decision I ever made as a journalist, and especially a broadcast journalist. And listen, I'm not the most humble guy around, but I'm deeply humbled by their support and their ongoing partnership. And you know what? Partnering with Jersey First TV specifically was arguably the best political move and career move I ever made in this business. And again, all these awards behind me, yeah, that's great. They say my name on it, but it wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for working with such a legitimate platform and organization like Jersey First and subsequently Jersey First TV. And since then, yeah, listen, I might have brought them some headaches over the years, but I've been proud to work with them. And I think it's fair to say they've been proud to work with me. And I've been so grateful to them and for everything I get to enjoy today. Folks, it's why I work so hard every single week to bring you, again, the best analysis and commentary about everything going on in New Jersey politics, in our communities, and more. And why not talk to the person responsible for bringing me to Jersey First TV? She's my good friend. And subsequently, folks, she's also my boss. She is the founder and president of Jersey First. She's a stand-up lady. And I'll tell you, the best boss I've ever worked for, and quite a patient boss at that, let me tell you. Folks, she's the great Rosemary Becchi, joins us live here on Real Talk. Boss, welcome to Real Talk. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much for having me on tonight. It's an honor to be on your program.
Well, again, the honor is mine, boss. And listen, I didn't want to get you too misty during the backstory, but it was important to share that because I felt that, during 2021, at the end of the year, I felt I was at a crossroads and I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with my media brand. And, like I said, Santa comes along and drops gifts when you least expect it. And, we started talking during that holiday season. And as soon as January in 2022 came around, we felt it was best to partner up. And again, I'm not trying to, sort of kiss the posterior too much, but you're arguably the best boss I've ever had in media. And I really appreciate your patience with me. And I'm sure you've had to have it with me, no question. But it's been a partnership that I'm so privileged to be a part of. And hopefully for many, many more years to come. You're great. And so is everybody else at Jersey First. Obviously, the executive board, Ashley Smith, and everybody with Jersey First. They're a great organization, and really, I'm proud to be a part of it. But let's get down to business here, boss. Certainly, it wasn't just you woke up one morning and said, I'm just going to create a URL. What went into the creation of Jersey First, and what were the goals early on for you when you decided to create this nonprofit, nonpartisan organization some years ago?
So, and first, I gotta say, the partnership with you has been absolutely incredible. I think we have grown immensely
Thank you.
as a result of this partnership, and you constantly are taking us to new levels, and we greatly appreciate that. I have been my entire career involved in developing public policy. I started my career at the Internal Revenue Service, where I was in the Office of Chief Counsel. And then I had the great pleasure of going up to the U.S. Senate, where I worked at the Senate Finance Committee as tax counsel. And there I had the great honor of co-authoring the 529 college savings plans. And since that time, I've continued in my day job and my career to be involved in developing public policy. Most of the time was solely focused in Washington, D.C. And then right around 2018, I started to look around. My kids were getting a little bit older and look around at the environment and see what was actually happening in New Jersey. And it really struck me that we needed, a voice and someone that's out there advocating. And at the time, when we first launched Jersey First, we were really focused on the economic issues and what was happening in New Jersey. And one of the very first projects we did and really took us down a path was to take a look at New Jersey and try to see, how did we get here? how did the state become so in debt? And how did all of this occur in New Jersey? And so, through that analysis, we really got to see what was happening. And it started with the way we funded education and the mistakes that we had made there. And so you could really see some of the problems. And from there, it really became apparent that we needed an organization that was out there advocating for hardworking New Jerseyans. Now, I will tell you, initially with Jersey First, we launched in 2018, and I ran for Congress in 2011, and the pandemic happened, and we ended up kind of leaving Jersey First to lay dormant for a year or so. And it was really after that election, I came within 6 points of Mikey Sherrill, and it was such an incredible experience, and we learned so much and developed such incredible relationships with people in the 11th district that it really, when after the election, several of us were sitting around and we were like, what are we going to do next? And what we decided it was really time to relaunch Jersey First and really, go about fighting for the changes and the things that we saw wrong during the pandemic. So the board set out to develop what we now call our pillars, fighting for lower taxes and less spending. We also thought it was important to be a part of representing the business community, and also being out there on education during the pandemic. We spent a lot of time working with families, working with parents to get the schools reopened. And then there was a fourth pillar that we thought was super important as well, and that was the community. And so we really wanted to get back out into the community and be there to support the police, to support our vets, and to support communities like the disabled community who had really suffered deeply during the pandemic. And so we relaunched Jersey First in 2021. And as you know, we've been kind of off to the races since then and working in many, many different ways throughout the state.
I mean, it's certainly been quite a journey. And folks, if you just joined us live right now, it takes 5 seconds. Trust me, I've actually done it. Like, comment, and share tonight's episode here on all your platforms. As Jersey First founder and president, Rosemary Becchi joins me live here on Real Talk. Folks, again, show your support for fearless independent media here by supporting the show. Helps the show grow for sure. And Rosemary, again, when we think about the journey that Jersey First has been in since its relaunch, right, in 2021, and certainly, New Jersey has undergone, again, some disappointing elections, right? We have seen not the best candidates running for office in different sectors, obviously, right? But more so, I think we're seeing a climate in New Jersey, and even before a political one, let's talk about the business one. We're seeing so many residents flee New Jersey to states that are much better for their businesses, for their pockets, for taxation. And it's fascinating to me, though, boss, when I talk to a lot of friends. I have a sort of group chat from grad school, my classmates, and a lot of them are very liberal, and that's fine. We find a way to get along. And over the years, they've been saying to me, well, I just can't afford New Jersey anymore, man. I got to move somewhere. And they move south. They move to the Carolinas, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida. And Rosemary, what drives me crazy, once they're living down there, obviously it's better governance, less taxation, and everything else. Then all of a sudden, they feel like, well, they should start trying to switch those states to blue. I'm like, wait a minute, you left a dump in New Jersey because of blue policies, specifically progressive policies that have killed our wallets, that have killed businesses, Rosemary. And then all of a sudden, they move south to better states, red states, coincidentally, with no state income tax. There's a better management of the budget in the state legislatures. And somehow these people are just tone deaf and just think, I physically know somebody in Florida running for a school board position, and they don't think it's progressive enough in that town. And I'm like, what do you just left New Jersey because progressive policies killed the state? Like, what are you doing? So I just think that sort of political myopia always baffles me, especially along business lines, right? Right, Rosemary?
No, absolutely. And look, that is why I mean we don't at Jersey First endorse candidates. But what we do is talk about the issues. And frankly, I mean, we think we're winning on those issues, right? Feels like a lot of times, the Democrats are co-opting our positions and stuff because it is about affordability. It is about less government. It is about, less taxes and less regulation. And it is about putting our kids first. Those are all of our priorities and stuff. And we really think that by being out there and by talking about the issues to voters, that we can change their hearts and minds. Because at the end of the day, when you show up to vote, you ought to be thinking about the candidate that you're going to vote for that's going to represent your values, that's going to actually fight for lower taxes and less spending, that's going to really believe in less regulation, and frankly, who's going to put your kids first. And so that's a really important aspect and stuff. And it is interesting to watch to see what's happening across the country and stuff. Some of these blue states, frankly, right now are getting awfully bluer and stuff. And you see people fleeing them constantly. I mean, I think it's fascinating to watch what's going on the West Coast right now. Up in Washington State, they just enacted a millionaire's tax, and you've got people fleeing there. On California, they're looking to go after their billionaires, and now they're seeing all of those folks flee in those places, and they are going to red places and stuff. So it is an interesting phenomenon to watch, and it's interesting here in New Jersey. We suddenly have a Democratic governor that her platform was about affordability. Whether or not she truly believes it, we'll see. But that was what her platform was about. So.
And it's frustrating, and you're right about that, because we think about where New Jersey is now, Rosemary. After 8 years of the emperor, now we have 4 years of the empress, where, you talked about not raising the sales tax. Well, the World Cup is coming, and guess what? If you're in the neighboring towns near MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford and Bergen County, the sales tax is going to go up. Right. Nothing's off the table with the budget. The budget's getting bigger. Listen, I've been working in education for years now. And, if you know anyone that works in local boards of ed, you'll know that school districts all across New Jersey are now having to tighten their belts. I mean, again, a lot of that COVID money coming from Washington isn't coming in anymore. Trenton isn't just giving money away. And Rosemary, take your pick. I mean, pick the news site, and whether it's NJ.com or anything else, you're seeing school districts every day, whether it's Maplewood, Newark, Hackensack, all the way in South Jersey, Central. You're talking about, well, we might have to lay off teachers. We may have to, tighten our belts, because guess what? Look at Montclair, coincidentally in the 11th congressional district, right? Mikey Sherrill's old district. I mean, we're talking about $11 million are missing. Listen, I might misplace a couple of dollars in my wallet or in my desk in my office at home. How do you misplace $11 million? Just lends itself to how fiscally irresponsible a lot of these blue towns are. And again, I don't want to be overly political about it, but it's like, what else are you going to blame here?
No, and that's certainly something we've seen across the country obviously play out here. And I think it is so critically important. I think it's critically important here in New Jersey, frankly. You know what? We've got to eliminate the fraud, waste, and abuse and the overspending. I mean, you're spending real dollars. This isn't make-believe money. It's taxpayer dollars. And we've got to get all of that spending under control. And there's got to be transparency and there's got to be accountability going forward. And frankly, in our school districts, the accountability and the transparency really boils down to making sure that our kids are actually getting a good education. And frankly, here in New Jersey, we're failing right now, right? Our schools are slipping, yet we're still spending so much money. And so obviously we're not doing something right. And again, this is where Jersey First comes in, and we need to be an advocate for not only New Jerseyans and parents, but also an advocate for the children and making sure, that they are getting the best education out there.
Absolutely. And we'll get back to sort of the business climate in a minute here in New Jersey, but let's get to another big component of what Jersey First represents, boss, and that is the outstanding summer internship program. And I can tell you, folks, for anyone out there with college age children, and you're looking to sort of set them on the right path and really get incredible training during the summer months when they're not in college, when they're not on campus, or maybe even taking summer classes. I mean, the summer internship program is producing so many great young men and women. And I can tell you, folks, having gone to the dinners at the end of the summer when the internship program has concluded, I mean, I'm talking to these great college students, and, sometimes I feel like New Jersey is kind of heading down a really bad path. But then all of a sudden I just remember, like, okay, Fernando, breathe. These are great young men and women that really want to contribute positively to New Jersey and talk about issues that matter to everyday residents, about affordability, about budgeting, about issues I think that matter to everyday residents, Rosemary. Not like the sort of identity nonsense and everything else that all the woke nonsense that it seems to be permeating from a lot of elected officials in Trenton, from a lot of municipalities, activists, you name it. That's not what the summer internship program is about. It's about, I think, getting these young men and women on the right track and really infusing them with great skills they're going to use, years down the line.
Absolutely. And this is the program that I am so proud of. And I will tell you, I truly believe that it sets us apart from everyone else. Frankly, it sets us apart from other organizations across the country. So to tell you a little bit about the program, so every summer, we choose 35 students to be part of our summer internship program. And they embark on a 10-week program. It's highly structured. The kids that are here in person, most of them are here in person. And they come in for 3 days a week, and they're asked to develop a grassroots campaign, soup to nuts. And I'll talk a little bit about the virtual kids in a minute, but the campaign is typically, something along the lines of, how to make New Jersey a better place to do business. That's something they did last year. Or what should New Jersey look like for the future generations? And again, they've got to do the research and the homework and look into the policy, develop the policy, do the research, look about across the country, figure out where people have tried things, what's worked, what hasn't worked. And part of that 10-week program is not only developing that public policy, but then they've got to go out and sell it to legislatures. So they go to Trenton and they meet with both Republicans and Democrats, and they talk about their policy ideas, and they provide input on research and potential legislation. They also launch grassroots campaigns, including social media and other things, to sell the policies that they're advocating for. Part of the program is they get a lot of training on how to run a grassroots campaign, but they also get basic training in, in group skills and things of that nature. We talk about team building, and we have a whole day where we do team building exercises and things like that. So it's an incredible program. I'm proud to say we don't teach the kids what to think. We just teach them how to think, how to analyze issues, how to think, look at the world, how to think about solutions, what works, what doesn't, things like that. And we've also got a virtual component. So each year we probably have 8 to 10 kids that are part of the virtual program, and I call those kids are overachievers. A lot of times those are kids that are going to school during the day, working a job during the day. And so their only way to participate in this internship program is in the evening. And they do the same work, develop the same grassroots campaign. They're just only doing it in the evenings. So that is a little bit about the internship program. One of the neat things is that some of the kids can graduate on and stay with us in the fall and the spring and do more in-depth research projects and be a part of, our everyday work and our everyday policy development here in Jersey First. Also participate in our grassroots campaigns, our door knocking, things of that nature that we also do here at our offices. And then also the other thing that the interns can then do is some of our interns graduate into becoming team leaders the following year, which is an incredible experience. So we pick a group of kids that come back the next summer, and they are group leaders for the kids, for the next group of kids that are coming on. And then finally, we added a brand new component to the program this year through our sister organization, the New Jersey Policy Institute. We actually now have a fellowship. And so this year we chose 3 kids that have a full year fellowship program. And so they are embarking on, doing some deep dives into some issue areas, thinking outside the box about how to convey those, that research and those ideas. One of the incredible things at the New Jersey Policy Institute is that we don't just write white papers. We hold forums, we hold roundtables, we host a show called Energy Matters. We do all sorts of different things and different ways to talk about some of that policy. So it's an incredible internship program. We're super proud. We've now graduated about 225 kids. A lot of those kids have gone on to all sorts of different jobs. We've got about 15 that are working in Washington, D.C., whether they're working at the National Republican Senatorial Committee. Some are working at the National Republican Congressional Committee. Some are just working in jobs in Washington. We've got some in New York City. We had a young man just join Blackstone up in New York City. So our kids are out there, and really what our goal is that they take those skills that we taught them and use them, in their future careers. And frankly, the other goal, frankly, of mine is that, we're building a bench, and someday those kids will come back and run for office here in New Jersey and, and really be part of building something better here in New Jersey.
Speaking of a lot of these great students coming back to hopefully run for office in New Jersey, we know it's a really tough endeavor lately, right? And I know that as a conservative and as a registered Republican, being both in New Jersey is probably not the best of days for me. And I know that last November, boss, obviously being in Bridgewater at the Marriott, obviously it was not the result that many of us New Jerseyans wanted during the gubernatorial election. I talked about it on this show repeatedly. I was looking at a close race Not that polling is always exact. We know that. I talked about it with guests like David Wildstein from the editor of the New Jersey Globe. Subsequently, after the election, Brent Johnson from NG Advanced Media, as well as other journalists. And bottom line, you would think after the disaster of the 8 years of Phil Murphy, Rosemary, where again, and I talk about this repeatedly, so it sounds like a broken record to the fans that tune in every week, but we continue to have the highest property taxes in the country. The gas tax just went up again in January. Now, again, in fairness, we can go back and blame Chris Christie for that during his administration, but the purpose of the gas tax is, again, you can educate me on this anytime you wish, but the gas tax is to help fund the Transportation Trust Fund, which is supposed to help fix our roads. And by the way, folks, if you subscribe to the AAA newsletter like I do, they rank, among other things, road quality within our 50 states. And New Jersey consistently, for years now, Rosemary, is in the bottom third. I repeat, folks, the bottom third of road quality in the country. And then to even add more insult to injury, the tolls continue to go up on the Parkway and on the Turnpike, respectively. And it's just, you would think with every economic barometer working against progressive policies in Trenton that are just destroying the state, Rosemary, I really thought New Jersey might say, you know what, let's switch gears here. And, after Labor Day, I felt really good. And whether it was the government shutdown, the optics where the Democrat Party started weaponizing things like SNAP benefits and everything else, it went from what was supposed to be a 2 or 3 point race to just annihilation. And to make matters worse, losing more assembly seats in Trenton, to where now Democrats who somehow want to blame Republicans like you and I or conservatives for why New Jersey is unaffordable, they've controlled the state for a quarter century. I just think the political myopia by so many voters, Rosemary, is infuriating. And I know that Jersey First is working hard to change the minds of a lot of voters, potentially. But it's so frustrating right now because, again, New Jersey, the reason it's in the fiscal red it is, has nothing to do with common sense policies that you advocate for or I advocate for.
Right. No, and look, and that's the role that we play at Jersey First. We are trying to continue to talk about the issues and continue to educate people about the issues, and we'll see how our new governor does. But one of my biggest pet peeves with our budget process here in New Jersey is there is zero transparency, right? Zero transparency. And the fact that you don't even know what is in the budget until a month after it's passed is just ridiculous, right? I mean, I work with the federal budget process every day, and that's not how that goes. And so it's just mind-blowing that that's what happens here in New Jersey. And our new governor is talking about transparency. Whether or not she's going to succeed at it or not we'll see. But at the end of the day, we do need transparency. We do need lower taxes. We need a smaller budget, not a bigger budget, a smaller budget. I mean, every household lives by a budget, and we need to in this state, and we need to stop driving people out of this state. We need to get them back here and get businesses back here. That's one of the hardest things to watch happening to New Jersey. And the other aspects, people are always like, well, it's not, people aren't, companies aren't leaving as quickly as you think. And I'm like, but they are, because one of the things they're doing is they're not expanding here in New Jersey. They go elsewhere to expand. We see it all the time. And it's that expansion into another area is a precursor to a departure from New Jersey. And so, we've got to stop that, and we've got to drive those businesses back here, and it's so critically important to the future of New Jersey, because without those businesses, we can't thrive. It's so many small businesses depend on those larger businesses, that it's really imperative, that we change our business climate and that we get those folks back here in the state.
Absolutely. As a member of the statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce here, Rosemary, I mean, because of my media company and it's a Hispanic owned business, I mean, I talk to members all the time with all the events that they do, whether it's their gala at the end of the year or their mixtures throughout the spring and the summer and fall seasons. And I mean, whether it's in hospitality, whether it's in finance, you name it, you're absolutely right. I mean, there a lot of businesses aren't expanding. There's no reason to for them. I mean, it just isn't fiscally feasible for them to do that. And it just drives me crazy when I talk to, when I talk to members at these events, and it gets a little partisan when, talking about politics. And they're like, well, Fernando, you're a conservative, you don't see. I'm like, wait a minute, what don't I see? That the tax system in New Jersey is working for us? It's not. I mean, again, we're averaging over $9,500 for property taxes. I mean, listen, where I live in Hudson County, I get it. I walk 2 blocks. I look at New York City. I understand. I get it. I'm a block from a light rail. I'm 2 blocks from a skyline and 2 blocks again from 24-hour transit into Manhattan. I get all that. I'm paying for where I live. But unfortunately, just north of me into Bergen County and even west of me, we're seeing property taxes in the averages of like 12, 13, 14, 15. Right. I mean, you go down into Union County, towns like Summit, we're talking about 17, 18. And it just kind of makes you wonder, yes, property taxes fund our schools. But even then, Trenton is now cutting school funding for a lot of school districts. I know for a fact. Listen, I'm not going to be like Stephen A. Smith here, where I tell you I know people. I actually know hundreds of teachers throughout this state that tell me stories in all 21 counties. Brace for this, for the over 500 plus school districts in New Jersey that are talking about downsizing school districts, closing schools, laying off teachers. Meanwhile, to your point, Trenton, again, folks, a little bit of a civics lesson here. Under New Jersey state law, a budget has to be signed, has to be ratified by both chambers by 11:59 p.m. June 30th. Has to be signed by the governor no later than that time frame. If it isn't, July 1st at 12:01 a.m., the state can shut down. It's happened in the last 20 years. It happened in 2006 with Governor Corzine and 2017 with Governor Christie. But in the last few years, Rosemary, we've seen Governor Murphy and the legislature kind of get close to the finish line and like, we might see a shutdown, and then we don't. And then the budget gets signed, but it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger with these projects. And it's at a point where it's suffocating taxpayers. But legislators in Trenton just seems to be, they just seem to be tone deaf, Rosemary.
No, absolutely. And it's so imperative to continue to push that message and to make sure that, frankly, New Jerseyans are heard. And because it is truly an affordability issue, and it is truly important that we continue to beat that drum and tell that story. So that is one of the things that, we spend a lot of time talking about and looking at. One of the things that our sister organization, New Jersey Policy Institute, launched recently was the Pork Roll Report. And we're excited because, our goal with regards to that pork roll report is to take a close look at the programs and what is in that annual budget and try to pull out where we think there could be meaningful ways to save. So I think that that's going to be imperative kind of going forward. And I think it's going to be incumbent upon the new governor and her administration to make sure that they, are pursuing policies that will, drive drive, costs down, and it's up to us to hold her accountable and to hold the administration accountable for that, and to make sure. I mean, I live in one of those counties. I think I live in Essex County. Essex County's average property tax is over $14,000. That's just craziness. That's absolutely crazy. And our education is sliding. Our children are not getting the same education that they got years ago, and there is no accountability, and we need to make sure that we are holding, administrators responsible, and making sure that our kids that are getting what we're putting into the system.
Absolutely. And to your point about these municipalities and school districts, again, we're seeing, this insistence in Trenton, and thankfully the Supreme Court, again, you're an attorney, so you can educate me on this even further, but thankfully the Supreme Court is siding with parents and the importance of parental rights. And we're seeing parents speaking out now in a lot of these municipalities against curriculum coming out of Trenton, Rosemary, that quite frankly is damaging and harmful. And again, that doesn't make me a bigot or a blank phobe or a blankist, whatever. Everything I've been named everything under the sun, as you know. But it's crazy to me where, again, these are issues that matter a lot to homeowners, to taxpayers, to parents. And I know that Jersey First doesn't really focus on that, more along economic lines and issues like that. But I know, again, you as a mom, and you talk to parents, obviously, during this political climate, that parental rights is still as important as it's ever been in New Jersey. I mean, yes, Democrats control more of the legislature now than they ever have in the last 25 years. But my goodness, I think it's an issue worth talking about, and I think being advocates for. And I know that Jersey First, we've, whether it's our end of the year party or other events, it's great to have advocates out there speaking up for parents in a state where sometimes, especially during COVID and coming out of COVID, parents were kind of put on the sidelines and even demonized.
No, absolutely. And it's certainly an important topic. And frankly, I'd argue that it is an economic issue. It does affect the value of your home. If you live in a school district that has, crazy policies and policies that don't favor, parents' rights, or don't take into account parents' rights, could affect the ability to sell your house and things like that. Look, for us, it's about, school choice and imposing more choice into the system. Certainly during the pandemic, we worked with a lot of parents to get those schools back opened up, and to provide that opportunity for kids to have more choices. There's, in one of the programs that we're a huge advocate for, and certainly advocating for the expansion of this program in the state of New Jersey, we have an incredible interdistrict school choice program, which means, for the public schools that participate in that program, you can choose to go to another a public school. And it's a wonderful program. We've actually had two of our interns who were products of that interdistrict program, and they both talked very, very highly about it. And it wasn't anything honestly political that drove them to participate in that program. One of the students, when I asked his mom why they participated in it, his mom shared that, the school district they were in, he wasn't performing as well. Didn't mean teachers were bad, didn't mean anything. It just wasn't a great fit. And so they applied to the interdistrict program, and they were chosen. And he went to the next school district over and blossomed from there. And I just think that's an incredible opportunity to recognize, nobody knows better than a parent when something's not quite right with your child, and show, having that choice and that ability to choose a different public school choice, it is just an incredible opportunity. Through our research about the program, we actually learned that a lot of people utilize this program in order so that the child could go to a school that's closer to a parent's work, or maybe closer to a grandparent, so that the grandparent could actually pick the child up from school. So there are a lot of other reasons why programs like that are great programs to be a part of. So that's kind of part of what we advocate when we look at some of the school choice.
Absolutely. Folks, if you're just joining us live right now, it takes 5 seconds. Trust me, I've actually counted it. Like, comment, and share tonight's episode here with Jersey First founder and president Rosemary Becchi here on Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Folks, again, it really helps the show grow and show your support for fearless, independent journalism, courtesy every week here of the Jersey First Television Network. Now, Rosemary, let's move on into the events coming up, and quite frankly, how Jersey First will continue to evolve. Obviously, we know partnering with the Institute. Obviously, I know Americans for Prosperity has occupied a great presence with Jersey First. What else would you like to see within the next year or two, or even 5, in the sense of the evolution of Jersey First?
So there's a couple of different areas that we are venturing into and expanding into. And frankly, we are part of a network. It's called the State Policy Network. It is a network of organizations all across the country that are very similar to Jersey First and the New Jersey Policy Institute. And so we're very fortunate to learn from them just some of the incredible work that they have done. We've got incredible role models in the Commonwealth Foundation that's in Pennsylvania. But some of the areas that we want to venture into, one of them is in the lawfare space. One of the things that we'd really like the ability to do is to get more involved in lawsuits. And what I mean by that, and we've actually been very, very fortunate to partner with a law center in Pennsylvania that is run by the Commonwealth, and it's called the Fairness Center. And we've been fortunate to partner with them on a lawsuit filed against Spiller, and in his run for the governor's race, Sean Spiller spent almost $50 million of teacher dues on his failed campaign. And so we worked with the Fairness Center to identify plaintiffs. There were a lot of teachers who were concerned about the monies that got used and hadn't agreed to the use of the monies in that manner. And so we worked with the Fairness, bringing them together with the Fairness Center so that they could file suit. And then we filed a complaint with ELECT as well as the Internal Revenue Service, because we found violations in those areas with the campaign. So those are the things, that we think it's important to be able to do and to hold people accountable using kind of a lawfare model. So that's certainly one area that we have started to dive into and hope to get more and more involved in. Another area where we tend to get more involved in is through helping out specifically with races. And again, I use our internship as the model. We are launching a PAC It's the New Jersey Legacy PAC, where we hope to go in and help candidates at the local levels, including school boards, and help them win their races. So, we'll start at those local levels, commissioner levels as well, and really look, with a long term eye for developing a bench. And we certainly hope that we're able to grow it in a meaningful way so that we can get involved in, not only the local races, but later down the line, more of the statewide races and other things like that.
And it's interesting about the creation of this pack and helping candidates. I mean, listen, I'm with you completely. And, New Jersey is not exactly a lost state. It's not California. It's getting there. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, but the importance of helping candidates at the local. Listen, all politics is local, and if you can start at the local level and helping school board candidates, as you mentioned, in other municipal races, that really goes a long way, Rosemary. Because again, here in New Jersey, until there's a really, I think, fair way to gerrymander districts. I mean, again, case in point, there's 12 congressional districts, folks, if you're not aware, here in New Jersey. And of the 12 congressional districts, 9 are occupied by Democrats and only 3 by Republicans. But when you look at the voter breakdown, and certainly, last November was extremely demoralizing for a lot of us. But when you look at the numbers, Rosemary, it's not like this isn't like California or Illinois, where we're talking about like a drastic drop off. We're talking about the fact that, yes, Democrats have more registered voters, and certainly independents sometimes vote for Democrats, sometimes they vote for Republicans. But at the end of the day, if the state was really gerrymandered accurately based on voter numbers, I mean, you can almost make the case that New Jersey probably would still have more Democrat-leaning congressional districts. But because, again, the disparity is like somewhere between like 60-40, that doesn't really correlate to, 9 of the 12 districts being Democrats. So it's almost like if it was really accurate gerrymandering, I think you almost make the case that Republicans could probably pick up 1, even 2 additional congressional seats, but that just isn't the case. Democrats have been so slick in Trenton when it comes to that, those redistricting things when it comes to congressional districts. And, helping candidates is hard. I mean, I've been interviewing congressional candidates on this show, CD3, CD6, CD12, CD11. I'll be talking to someone in CD9 in the next couple of weeks. And it's hard to raise money. It's hard to get a ground game. It just seems like Democrats know how to weaponize certain things. And I don't want to sound offensive to anyone out there, but there's so many low information voters, Rosemary, that it's just easy to weaponize the most simplest of talking points, and people fall for it. And it's infuriating to me, not because I'm a know-it-all academic, even though I play one on TV. The problem is it's frustrating because New Jersey can do better.
Yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And again, we think, it's kind of a twofold step. Like, right, we want to support those candidates in a meaningful way. And then I think, we view our role is to run alongside of them and talk about the issues and educate people about the issues. We did this past year with our volunteers. A lot of times it was our younger interns, but we knocked over 10,000 doors and had those conversations with people. And it's really important to, I mean, look, the reality is people get busy with their lives, and I appreciate that. We all do. And I think that when you can take a minute and you can knock on a door and you can have those conversations, I think it's meaningful. And I think that that is important aspect so that, you are helping those candidates as they run those races.
It's absolutely important. And again, New Jersey is salvageable. It really is at the local level, at school board levels. And we're seeing it. Obviously, whether it's this new PAC you mentioned, Rosemary, or other organizations like the Moms for Liberty here in New Jersey. I mean, they're very, very active. And, shout out to the Bergen County Chair, Alexandra Bauer, who's been on this show multiple times. She's very visible. You have obviously other activists, Kristen Cobo and others that are very, very much NJ 5 pack, that are very much about being advocates for parents and parental rights, and we've seen that in the years since the end of the pandemic. I mean, whether it was, it's an issue personal to me because I'm not vaccinated, but I know what it's like to be vilified for not being vaccinated. And I know so many people that either lost jobs, businesses closed down, and it was such a tsunami effect coming out of Trenton that really doomed New Jersey. And I'm always infuriated, especially during, just to sort of switch it back to politics now, when we talk about, ID for this, ID. Rosemary, there was a time just 5 years ago, right? It's not too long ago where if I wanted to go eat somewhere, if I didn't have a vaccine card, Rosemary, I couldn't go to dinner with whatever girl I was dating at the time. So that's a very real thing to me, whether it's that, the way parental rights were infringed upon, our kids' education was infringed upon. Like we have yet to discover the learning loss, Rosemary, that our kids suffered because of Trenton Democrats acquiescing to the teachers union, to the NJEA, to the AFT, to Sean Spiller of all people during COVID. And I think it's really infuriating that more and more people are waking up to this, but I think there's still a lot of work to be done. Is that fair to say?
No, absolutely. And look, I certainly as a parent saw it in my own kids, but I really think we saw it in our internship program. The first year of our internship program in 2021, we had the kids that weren't afraid of COVID, that were out there just living their lives and weren't going to stay home. I think they found a home with us. They were always in the office. They were social. They were out there. And then the next year of interns that showed up in 2022 was a very different class, and you could see it. And we certainly adjusted, and we certainly learned to work with them, and to actually, what we felt like we had to do was develop their social skills. And that was a big part of it. You could see it a little bit in 23, and it really didn't feel like we were back to where we were in 2021 and until several years later and stuff. So you could really see the impact of when kids were home and not out there and not being social and not living their lives.
It's just demoralizing, but I feel optimistic, especially with not just with what Jersey First is doing, but again, partnering with other organizations and even the start of this new pack you mentioned. I think it really goes a long way in providing a voice for people that have felt disenfranchised for some years, right, boss? I mean, in the sense of whether it's parental rights, the economic climate, but here's another dynamic too. And I really want to pick your brain on this because you ran for office once, a very competitive race. Since then, you've really sunk your teeth into Jersey First. I mean, it sort of begs the question, any chance you might want to sort of dip your toe into the waters again to run for office?
The short answer is probably not. I really believe that where I can do the most is working in the role that I am in right now. I truly believe that building an advocacy program, building a bench, making this place a better place to live, learn, work, and retire is truly the best use of my talent. It really is. I care deeply about this state. And I care deeply about staying here. I love that I've created a home, and I want my kids to be able to always come back. It's so demoralizing, when you constantly see all your neighbors leaving the minute their kids graduate from high school. They're out of here, and that's I want people to stay. We were fortunate to live on a street where we had block parties and we helped each other out. And I will forever remember that and forever be grateful for those people and for having them part of my life. They meant so much to me and stuff. And so I think it's just so important for this country and for like, and for our children is to have that and to see that. My parents moved around a lot and I never felt that connection. And so it was so important to me in raising a family. And, we lived in the Washington, D.C. area. We purposely moved home to New Jersey because we wanted that sense of community that New Jersey brings. And so, I think it's incumbent upon us to work hard and incumbent upon me to work hard to fix this. So I think hopefully with the work we're doing here at Jersey First, the Policy Institute, and hopefully in the PAC in the future, we'll make meaningful change.
When I jumped on with Jersey First a few years ago, Rosemary, obviously it looked like a really deep bench when it came to Jersey First TV. That has thinned out a little bit in the recent years. We have seen the return of Bridging the Gap, two great young men, obviously. Happy to plug them on this program regularly as I do so. But what's interesting about also, and I want to pick your brain about this because obviously as Jersey First has branched off into that wing of Jersey First TV, and in today's media landscape here, Rosemary, I mean, obviously I talk about it all the time here. There's a reason why I think New Jersey residents have lost faith in establishment media. We've seen the closing of the Jersey Journal, where I live, for example, here in Hudson County. The Jersey Journal was an institution for over 100 years. I mean, that print publication closed. We saw the Star Ledger close. We've seen other print newspapers also shut down. The Bergen Record, for example. Now we still have digital news sites, but I really want to pick your brain about this because there seems to be this outcry, and it's budget season, and one of the big talking points during budget season apparently has been some journalists talking about, well, is New Jersey going to try to fund public media again? And, my objection to that is a lot of the public media that existed was destroyed by the very journalists, and I call them propagandists a lot, because they helped destroy that. So I think the fact that a lot of New Jersey residents are relying on independent media like yours truly, and of course, Bridging the Gap, my teammates here on Jersey First and other podcasters, is I think that establishment media has lost the trust of New Jersey residents, Rosemary. And, I find it, again, hypocritical that some of them were contributing, were complicit in destroying the media here. And now they sort of want to be part of the rescue. I find it to be hypocrisy on steroids. But when we think about the growth of Jersey First TV, where would you like to see that move in the next few years?
I would like to see, just where we are now. And frankly, I just would like to see a continued evolution. I mean, we're obviously so grateful for your partnership and that you've stayed with us. I'm proud to say that the former group of Bridging the Gap, they have, AJ is now graduated from law school and on his career, and Stephen is getting ready to graduate. And so I'm always grateful to have been a part of their journey. I remember when they first interviewed me at Montclair State as a candidate. I so enjoyed being on their show and learning from them and hearing from them. And so, and we're also very grateful for the time Elizabeth Nader was with us, but she has also moved on. And I think that's important. But I do think it's really important to create and to allow opportunities for programming like this to exist. And we'll continue to look for whether it's new shows or new ways of doing it. We've added the New Jersey Policy added Energy Matters that's hosted by Jeanette Hoffman that takes a look at energy issues in a nonpartisan way and interviewing guests. And so we will continue to think outside the box and talk and find new ways of making sure that we're creating dialogue. I mean, to me, that's the most important thing is creating places where people can have a dialogue. Again, I said early on in your program, I was very fortunate to work at the U.S. Senate Finance Committee. I know how important it is to be able to have those conversations. I still work this day with a very good friend and partner who worked on the other side of the aisle for years, and we still have that ongoing dialogue. And so part of developing policy is, at least being open-minded. And what I think has gone on is that some of the things, I mean, we all know there's certain channels we just don't watch because
Yeah.
it's so opinionated, and so I think it's just, I want to make sure that we continue this evolution and are in a place where we're allowing people to present other views. So.
And again, a shout out to my Jersey First teammates again, Zachary Dora and Tyler Simpson, with the new stars of Bridging the Gap. And again, they're doing great work, folks. If you haven't checked it out, go to the Jersey First YouTube page or their Instagram or their Facebooks and check out the great conversations they're having there. And the future looks bright on Jersey First TV, especially with Zach and Tyler. And I couldn't be happier to have great teammates like them. Like I've had them in the past. Like I mentioned Steven, and you mentioned AJ as well, and Elizabeth, and certainly I've been blessed with great teammates on Jersey First TV. So certainly I'm really excited and eager to see as we continue to sort of keep putting up good numbers and traffic. And I say it all the time. I don't say it just to be braggadocious, boss, but again, it's important, especially in this medium where independent media is thriving now more than ever, because again, people have lost so much faith in establishment media. Yeah, listen, people read NJ.com, they read Politico, they read the Bergen Record, but at the end of the day, people know what they're getting, boss. They know what they're getting out of that. And there's a reason why the Star Ledger went out of business. There's a reason why the Bergen Record went out of business. Yeah, I get it. People maybe aren't reading newspapers anymore, but even the digital side of it, people aren't finding trustworthy. And that's why, whether it's Bridging the Gap, with Tyler and Zach or myself, I mean, it shows like this, I think people are gravitating to, because at the end of the day, we're not here to lie to you. We're here to talk about issues that matter to everyday New Jersey residents. And I think that's really the bare bones of the formula for success here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's our goal.
Yeah, definitely. So, boss, folks, again, it's 6:00 here on the East Coast. I'm just about to wrap up here with the founder and president and my boss, coincidentally, here on Jersey First, the great Rosemary Becchi, here on the program. Folks, like, comment, and share. It takes just a few seconds to help the show grow and show your support for fearless independent media here with Jersey First TV. Rosemary, before I let you go, obviously, any big events coming up now during the spring and summer? We'll be celebrating 250 years as a republic later on in July. But certainly events, I'm sure, will be in abundance coming up. And certainly, what can we look forward to for the rest of 2026?
So everyone needs to pay attention to our website and our announcements. And if you need information, please reach out to me even directly, rosemary@jersey1st.org. We have amazing events planned for the rest of this year. We are going to be celebrating America. It is such an honor to be here to celebrate our 250th birthday. And at Jersey First, that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to have a movie night on the beach. We're going to be down at the beach. We've done trivia nights. Our next trivia night's going to be this summer down at the beach. We've got all sorts of great, incredible events planned. And we're going to be hosting an incredible bigger celebration on September 26th in Bridgewater. We're going to do it at the Patriot Center there. It's going to be a bash like nobody else's bash, celebrating the 250th birthday of our country. So this is meant to be, we really want to energize people. We want to just take a step back and remember, because we're all so grateful to be here and to live in this country. And at the end of the day, we're all neighbors. And so we really want to at Jersey First, take a step back and really celebrate this year. So we've got all sorts of really great fun events planned. So keep an eye on our website. And if you need more information, reach out to me, reach out to Fernando, because it's going to be a lot of fun.
Rosemary, again, in closing here, I can't say enough, really. I'm so grateful for your time tonight. And, as I said at the onset, during giving context here and sort of, giving a backstory about joining Jersey First. I mean, again, it is, everything happens for a reason. And as I said, during that Christmas holiday in 2021, again, at a crossroads, didn't know where the show was going. It was doing well traffic wise, but I felt like it still needed a tag team partner. And, talking to you was a great business decision for me. And I've gotten to know you, not just as my boss, but I've gotten to know you as a human being. And you're such an exceptional lady, great attorney, great businesswoman, a great leader with what we're doing with Jersey First. And, again, since joining you guys in January of 2022, I could not be happier. I really am grateful for your support. I'm grateful for your patience, because I know you have to have it with me. I know you do. And but I'm really grateful for your time, and I'm really grateful for the rapport that we've developed. And for all the success that I get to enjoy, I don't get to enjoy it without Jersey First. And that's why I push so hard for it wherever I go, with media appearances, with everything that I do. I'm sort of like just a Jersey First boy with, flying the cape, planting the flag in the ground. And I'm proud to do that. And again, I'm really grateful to you and everybody at Jersey First for your support of this media brand of mine. And quite frankly, the rapport we have, I could not be anywhere near the success that I am today without you. So I'm grateful to that. So I'll give you the last word tonight.
Well, I just want to say thank you to you, and thank you to all the viewers. We really appreciate your partnership, and please follow us on social media, and reach out to us. We're always looking for volunteers. Our events are always free, because we really want you to come and be a part of our organization. So please reach out to me directly, Rosemary at jersey1st.org, or reach out to Fernando. And Fernando, thank you for your partnership and your friendship. I am forever grateful for it. And just as you said, everything happens for a reason. And this was a really great reason. And I'm glad that we've spent this time working together.
Absolutely. And by the way, when you talk about events, I would argue my favorite event of the year is always the Christmas party. That is, let me tell you, at Karloff's, it's such a great venue. And, they do such a great job, the staff there and the management. And it's just such a great party. And after working so hard at the end of the year, I get to interact with you and the Jersey First board. It's such a great event. And again, all the events are great, folks. And if you haven't done so already, what are you waiting for? Visit jerseyfirst.org, certainly for more information. Sign up for their newsletter so you can be up to date with their events. Certainly always check out jerseyfirst.org/TV for not just Real Talk, but also Bridging the Gap with Tyler and Zach. And again, Rosemary, I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for your time. And again, folks, she is the founder and president of Jersey First, and the best boss I've ever had in media. And that might piss off some people, but that's okay. She's Rosemary Becchi, folks, my guest tonight. Rosemary, have a great rest of the week. Again, happy Mother's Day in advance. It's coming up in a few weeks. And we'll talk to you again soon here on Jersey First TV.
Thanks for having me.
Have a good night. Folks, good stuff there with the founder and president of Jersey First there, Rosemary Becchi. And again, folks, I don't want to get too sappy on this program, but I said it at the onset and I'll say it again. I can't say enough about the impact that Jersey First has had on my career as a broadcast journalist. And again, I've been at this for some years now. And again, going back to 2012 with Hudson County TV. And again, I'm always grateful for every media boss I've had, because they've helped me grow in some way, shape, or form. Again, I'm always grateful to Julio Reynoso with Hudson County TV. Certainly grateful to Pete Onelia during my years at Insider NJ working with Pete. He's a stand-up guy. Don't have a bad word to say about Pete Onelia. Now, everybody else at Insider NJ, I don't really care for, and as you all know why. But Pete Onelia has been a great boss. But folks, again, in January of 2022, when Real Talk was at a crossroads, and I was looking to see how I can expand this media brand further with Fernando Uribe Media. Again, the right opportunity, the right door opened. And again, it was the best decision I could have ever made joining Jersey First. And folks, don't let it fool you. You know, I love my boss. Rosemary Becchi is super patient with me. She gets a lot of grief about me and a lot of headaches, but she stuck with me. And I'm really grateful to her. And I'm grateful to the executive board at Jersey First for sticking with me. And certainly that's why I work so hard to bring great traffic and recognition for Jersey First and Jersey First TV on a weekly basis. So again, folks, if you're interested in joining up with Jersey First, visit them online again, jerseyfirst.org. And so if you're looking to check out all the great programming we bring you with Jersey First TV, again, check it out, jerseyfirst.org/TV. You can check out episodes of Real Talk with Fernando Uribe every week. And of course, brand new episodes of the returning Bridging the Gap with their new hosts, of course, Zachary Dora and Tyler Simpson. So just want to give a shout out to my teammates there with Jersey First TV. Great young men doing great work here, as we're all doing great work, folks, here at the Jersey First Television Network. Folks, it's a little after 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. We appreciate you tuning in here. Again, like, comment, and share tonight's episode. It really helps the show grow and show your support for fearless independent media. Well, folks, you know what time it is. It's time for final thoughts. And folks, yes, I do want to highlight, as I like to on this program all the time, a lot of the bad actors in New Jersey, whether it's in higher education, whether it's in journalism, whether it's in, government work, elected officials, activists, and you name it, folks. There is no shortage of bad actors in New Jersey. And while the collage I have behind me is pretty updated, folks, I might have to start adding some more pictures there. Because what we're seeing now, and the weather's getting warmer, it's getting nicer outside. So, of course, when it comes to, the woke crowd and the nose ring militia, the usual social justice buffoonery, folks. Once the weather gets warmer, these people who obviously don't have jobs and don't have anything to do on Mondays, certainly it's easy for them to go and protest on the weekends. And we saw that this past Sunday, just yesterday. And a shout out to HUDPost with their editor, James De Los Santos. And I sometimes wonder why they platform these idiots marching yesterday. But folks, you can see there, Isaac Jimenez, all 102 pounds of him soaking wet. Of course, the typical Democratic socialist with the camouflage gear and no doubt the red Che Guevara t-shirt under there. Of course, as scrawny and as feminine as looking as ever. Obviously, they felt the need to gather yesterday along Frank Sinatra Drive in Hoboken, showing solidarity for Palestine. What else is new with the left and all the woke brigade and everything else? And folks, I've been someone on this program who's been consistent for years now. And don't take my word for it. You can look it up on my social media. It's there. I have nothing to hide about it. But folks, the only journalist ever standing up for Jewish kids, Jewish students on our college campuses, Jewish faculty members, or members of the Jewish community, you know who it's been? It's been Fernando Uribe. Hasn't been Tom Moran. Hasn't been David Cruz. It hasn't been Max Pizarro. It hasn't been Jay Lassiter or John Van Vliet or Charles Stile or Matt Friedman. Coincidentally, you would think he would be standing up. Okay? But the only person consistently standing up for Jewish locals, whether it's going across the river, Upper West Side, to Jihadist University. Columbia University. And standing in front of protesters, burning American flags, burning Israeli flags, harassing police officers, screaming expletives at the Jewish community in New York City. Well, folks, guess who's been there standing up for Jewish people? Yes, Fernando Uribe. Now, why HUDPost would platform such vile people like they did yesterday, it's just mind-boggling to me. But yes, folks, all 100 people gathered yesterday in Hoboken to talk about, I guess, their solidarity with Palestine and coddle jihadists that have been breaking into libraries on our college campuses, setting up tents on grass lawns on our campuses, whether it's my alma mater, Rutgers University, or across the river at Columbia, or John Jay, or the New School, or Bernard, or NYU. You name it, folks. There's been no shortage of jihadist sympathizers and these woke coddlers, right? So yesterday in Hoboken, they gathered on Sinatra Drive. And of course, here is some exclusive footage of them mobilizing in Hoboken. Oh, my bad, folks. Sorry, that was wrong one. When you think of clowns, that comes to mind. But no, let's get to the real clowns. Obviously, yesterday on Sinatra Drive, and of course, as I mentioned, as you can see there, Isaac Jimenez, who I'm just surprised with any wind gust coming across the river that he wasn't just going to get swept up and blown away, all 101 pounds of him. But let's check out this clown show yesterday in Hoboken, standing up for perhaps the worst of values that we can think of in our political climate.
It's Isaac Jimenez here. I'm outside of the pier in Hoboken. We just did a mile march.
And folks, don't you just love the sound of estrogen coming out of his voice? I mean, perhaps the least masculine guy that I know in Hudson County politics and activism is Isaac Jimenez, and he's got some competition. But folks, check this out. I mean, this is rich here.
For Palestine and for awareness over what's going on in South Lebanon right now. As you can see, 100 people are behind me. We just finished our
100 people that obviously don't have jobs. And tomorrow, obviously, it was great to protest on Sunday because they don't have work to go to on Monday. So, I mean, that seems convenient, right?
march. That's why we're here today.
Hey, my name is Emily. I'm a Hoboken resident. We got a group of people out here today in Hoboken to walk along the waterfront in solidarity with Palestine. 2 weeks.
Folks, by the way, I mean, I could smell the cat piss right through this video. I could smell the cat piss just looking at Emily, but let's continue.
Ago, a young man was arrested in Hoboken with plans to firebomb the home of a prominent Palestinian American activist. And our city and our politicians released nothing condemning his actions, nothing specifically stating his anti-Palestinian hate and the extremism that comes along with it. As someone who's vocal about Palestine and I want to protect my Palestinian friends and neighbors, we absolutely demand that our city be better strongly worded about how they condemn this particular hate. Solidarity with Palestine, solidarity with Lebanon, Iran, and beyond. Free Palestine.
Folks, you gotta love the white liberal gentrifiers that move into towns like Hoboken and the Jersey City Heights and downtown Jersey City. And you just have to love this. You have to love people like Isaac Jimenez, who has a Cuban background and has seen firsthand the evils of socialism and communism. And folks, this is what we call un come mierda in politics, right? Who's politically myopic. And as the son of a Cuban immigrant myself, and seeing the damage that communism and socialism has done to my mother's homeland, you would think that someone like Isaac Jimenez would know better. But folks, what do you expect from democratic socialists? Right? What do you expect out of them when they are there consistently trying to advocate for a value system that for decades has sung songs like From the River to the Sea? And you know, and we all know what that means, folks. Okay. With blatant anti-Semitism. Okay. We've seen the last few years. Again, don't take my word for it. Just Google me at Columbia University, standing in front of all these jihadist sympathizers and all of these anti-Semites, screaming in solidarity for Palestine. Screaming in solidarity for a value system, folks. And again, this is what's interesting about, folks, is there a more toxic demographic in today's political climate than the white liberal woman? Now, Emily, to no surprise, of course, didn't give her last name, because why would you even want to give your full name to this buffoonery? Now, I expect this from Isaac Jimenez. I mean, this guy's a clown. I mean, this type of idiocy has become the norm by Isaac Jimenez, whether it's getting arrested at what used to be Christ Hospital in Jersey City, or just being a buffoon on a regular basis. I mean, again, folks, all 101 pounds of him, I was concerned watching this video because I said, oh my God, like all 101 pounds of him might just get swept up by just a simple gust of wind. But these are the folks leading the charge here. Okay? These are the folks that have had no problem with jihadist sympathizers terrorizing our college campuses, terrorizing Jewish students, Jewish faculty, the Jewish community in general. Okay? Whether it's been flag raisings in Hoboken from the previous mayor. We'll see if the new mayor acquiesces to this nonsense. We'll find out. Okay? But folks, these are the children that will participate in No King's Marches. And by the way, again, trust me when I tell you, Isaac Jimenez is the first person, and you'll see him because I'm sure the video footage is out there, will be one of the first people at a No King's March talking about, oh my God, the erosion of democracy. And we're living under fascism and we're living under a dictator. We're living under a king. I bet you that Isaac Jimenez, number one, by looking at him, how he hasn't withered away is beyond me. But we'll be the first guy to vilify you for not being vaccinated, for not wearing a mask, right? Who I'm sure was perfectly okay with vaccine cards to go dine. I'm not vaccinated, folks. And I'm proud of that. Not because of political reasons. I just chose not to be. I live a really healthy lifestyle for the most part. Okay. But it's these same clowns like Isaac Jimenez that would lecture you about the erosion of democracy. But guess what? During the Biden administration, when people were losing their jobs, when servicemen and women in our armed forces were being honorably discharged because they wouldn't get vaccinated, or cops or EMT workers or firefighters were getting laid off, and subsequently, thankfully, they got their jobs back. You think Isaac Jimenez would ever fight for them? Of course not. He's okay when it's the erosion of democracy that benefits him and his bullshit. And that Karen over there, the cat lady, Emily, whoever else, and every other cat lady. Folks, again, shout out to everybody walking yesterday, because that was, by the looks of it, you could see by some of them walking there, that's probably the most cardio some of these men and women have gotten all year. So, good for you, getting that cardio in. But folks, it's the woke mob. It's members of the nose ring militia. It's all these social justice clowns like this guy, who would lecture you about somehow it's the erosion of democracy. Somehow we're living under a king, which, by the way, for this idiot, who it's clear didn't pass U.S. history or biology or economics for that matter. I don't even know how he graduated college, to be honest with you. Okay? But this is a guy who somehow must have forgotten that we haven't lived under a king as we now approach 250 years since our Declaration of Independence from King George and the monarchy of England. But don't tell him that. It's too convenient for him to virtue signal and grandstand about bullshit that we know isn't true. But folks, Isaac Jimenez is just part of the simple problem that exists here. And I get it. HuffPost is reporting the news. And it's unfortunate they have to give oxygen to idiots like this guy and the rest of the demonstrators yesterday, or people that marched during the No Kings rallies, who, again, are so concerned about the erosion of democracy, right? Who will tell you, producing an ID to vote is racist and it's oppressive. But guess what? Producing a vaccine card to go eat, that wasn't oppressive. That was okay. Folks, it's that level of hypocrisy, which is why I can't take people like Isaac Jimenez seriously and the rest of the clowns yesterday. So when I started the segment, I said, here are the people mobilizing in Hoboken. Yeah, this is really them. Folks, that's what we saw yesterday. We saw clowns being led by arguably the ultimate clown, Isaac Jimenez. Folks, is there a better way to talk about Isaac Jimenez than just sort of to out him for what he really is?
No. You're a loser. Clown show. Say it with me, Michael. Clown show. Clown show. Clown show. Clown Clown show. Clown show. Crying is a clown show.
Folks, that's what we're looking at here with clowns like Isaac Jimenez and all these jihadist sympathizers yesterday in Hoboken that keep peddling this nonsense. I mean, it's unfortunate we keep giving oxygen to these ridiculous causes and these ridiculous protesters. But again, I mean, this is how they stay relevant. This is how they actually, feel productive. It's not like they're working or have jobs. I mean, they have to do something with their time. And folks, when we think about productivity, I don't think of Isaac Jimenez. And to be honest with you, I never will. And those are my final thoughts. Folks, a special comment here to close out the show. And first and foremost, let me just start out by saying a shout out to Four Nose of Spain in Newark in the Ironbound section. Great restaurant as we got to celebrate a very festive weekend. Obviously, celebrating the great traffic for the month of March for Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. Over 110,000 organic views here on the show, celebrating the birthday of my mother, Cira Uribe. Of course, folks, if you ever have to wonder where I get my good looks from, yes, it's from my mother. Okay, so in case you're ever curious or you weren't sure, why is Fernando so handsome? Where does Fernando get his incredible good looks from? He gets it from his mother. I think that's obvious when you look at her. But also, to celebrate the 40th wedding anniversary of my dear aunt and uncle. 40 years, folks. We would all like to get to 40 years being married. But that's what we got to celebrate this past weekend, folks, at Four Noses of Spain. The traffic, my mother's birthday, and most importantly, the 40th wedding anniversary of two of the best human beings that I have had the privilege of living with, loving, and interacting with. Two very generous human beings and two very good human beings. So once again, happy 40th anniversary to my aunt and uncle. Here's to 40 more together of love, health, and happiness. Great weekend to celebrate our great couple. And also, folks, a shout out here to a brand new business in Bergen County. Cigarro Bar and Lounge, located at 91 Main Street in Hackensack, New Jersey, along Main Street, right near the county courthouse in Hackensack, folks, right really in the center of the city. A great new venue. And for cigar lovers like myself, it is a wonderful new business in Bergen County. Affordable cigars, DJ music, very good looking and classy crowd. So I do want to congratulate the ownership and the management there, of course, with my good friend, Sandra Bracken. And folks, yes, you know, New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist loves a good cigar every now and then. So I get to enjoy one there. Very affordable cigars, great ambiance, classy crowd. Again, folks, just a great new venue in Bergen County. Congratulations to Cigarro Bar and Lounge in Hackensack, New Jersey. And once again, shout out to the management and the ownership there. Congratulations to Sandra Bracken and everyone there associated with Cigarro Bar and Lounge in Hackensack. To many more years of success and to profits, and of course, to being another great venue for the cigar-loving community here in New Jersey. Congratulations on the grand opening of Cigarro Lounge in Hackensack. And that's our show for this week, folks, but a special reminder coming up this Friday night. As you all know, folks, not just only being a broadcast journalist, an award-winning broadcast journalist at that, but also an award-winning philanthropist. And folks, you know how dedicated I am to philanthropy. And this Friday night, come by. It's going to be 80 degrees on Friday. Sunny, great weather. The patio will be open. Folks, make sure you come out this Friday night to the world-famous Son Cubano, located along the waterfront in West York, New Jersey, at 40-4 Riverwalk Place for the 2026 edition of Memories Matter to benefit Alzheimer's New Jersey. Now, folks, I'm proud to volunteer with Alzheimer's New Jersey, and of course, their president and CEO, Kenny Zanes, and of course, the great executive board at Alzheimer's New Jersey. Now, folks, I cannot say enough how excited I am to be partnering with my amazing hosts this coming Friday night, which include Emily Niorca, Ileana Sandoval, Carmen Panicu, and Vladimir Carrero. Folks, DJ Ziggy Roman will have great music all evening long. We'll have great raffles from multiple reputable businesses in Hudson and Bergen counties. And certainly, folks, we have a great food and drink selection available at Son Cubano. Folks, don't forget Cash Bar that evening. We will have a QR code upon signing in. We are asking for a generous $20 donation at the door, folks. So if you can donate, please do so. You can donate in cash. If you wish to bring a check, please address it and make it payable to Alzheimer's New Jersey. And if you wish to pay online on your smartphone, again, folks, there'll be a QR code where you can pay online right at the door. And also, there'll be a QR code and card readers at the raffle tables. So if you can bring some cash, that's great. If you can't, make sure you can bring it. Of course, folks, when you make your checks out to Alzheimer's New Jersey, do know that your donations online are safe, secure, and tax deductible. Folks, let's make a difference. Let's party for a great cause. It's always a good-looking crowd, folks, at my events throughout the years. Don't believe me? Just Google it and take a look for yourself. So again, this Friday night, great weather, great crowd, and most importantly, partying for such a great cause. And together, we can defeat Alzheimer's and dementia once and for all. Folks, festivities begin at 8 p.m. and we'll be going until closing time right about 1 a.m. This coming Friday, April the 17th, folks, at the world-famous Son Cubano, and join us for Memories Matter to benefit Alzheimer's New Jersey. And that's our show for this week. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to thank the founder and president of Jersey First, my great boss, Rosemary Becchi, for her participation tonight. A great interview tonight. And obviously, great things are happening with Jersey First and Jersey First TV. Folks, I can't say enough. We're leading the way here, educating and advocating for the residents here in the great state of New Jersey. And folks, if you're looking for the best analysis and commentary about everything going on in New Jersey politics, folks, look no further than Real Talk with Fernando Uribe every Monday night live. Check your local listings, of course, for start times here on the Jersey First television network. And I can't say enough. If you haven't done so already, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and X, subscribe to us on YouTube, and also on Spotify or SoundCloud. And folks, there's a lot of journalists out there pretending to be journalists. That's not the case on this program, folks. It's fearless independent media here every single week. Don't be mistaken by imitators. Folks, the leader in fearless independent media is right here. You know it. Real Talk with Fernando Uribe every Monday night live here on the Jersey First television network. Folks, I am the generational talent in Garden State Media and certainly your leader for trustworthy opinion journalism. Folks, don't believe the Mickey Mouse journalists out there. We all know who they are. Folks, those are Mickey Mouse journalists with Mickey Mouse shows. Nothing Mickey Mouse here on Real Talk. It's real traffic, real conversations, because it's Real Talk here every Monday night. That's right, folks. I'm Fernando Uribe. Please party responsibly. Enjoy WrestleMania weekend, WrestleMania 42. The Super Bowl of professional wrestling emanates from Allegiant Stadium in the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, this Saturday and Sunday, as we'll be seeing great matches. And let's go Roman Reigns on Sunday, hopefully defeating CM Punk and other great matches throughout the weekend. Folks, please party responsibly, and I'll see you next Monday Night Live here for this edition of Real Talk here on Jersey First TV. Thanks for stopping by, and always remember, stay classy, everyone.